Hello and welcome to the Sweaty the Farmer and the game design, where we try to do monster cheese in space. And well, it went as well as you imagined. This is episode number 68. Learn the balance of war. I am the Loinian Gamer, the Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us on this episode. This week we balance the fantasy and war on this podcast.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So before we go on, as usual, our disclaimer: the discussion here is based on our opinions and our own in-game experience. Everything we say, do, and tell you here is up for discussion, debate, or everything else. If you're watching us and hearing us on YouTube, you can leave all your worries down here in the comments below. We will address it properly. And with that, we have on the deep dive stuff and things like Yoshi-P chimes in on games as service, the imbalance of Warframe's combat, more probably gunplay, and how to tank in World of Warcraft, the one theme that we own you from last podcast episode.
Pre-BlizzCon episode.
Yeah, pre-BlizzCon stuff. So, my friend, what does the great Yoshi-P tell us about live service gaming?
Okay, so I came across this article of an interview that he gave to the Washington Post.
Yeah.
And it's basically an interview touches into basically after this came maybe a week or two after the announcement of Endwalker a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. And
it's basically asking about the future of Final Fantasy XIV, and how, like, as now 14 is regarded as one of the few successes on the MMORPG space.
Yeah, correct.
Basically they ask Yoshi-P's opinion on how to maintain a healthy approach to not only games as services, but like this always online game as service model that so many places have borrowed from the MMORPG genre.
Correct. Yeah.
So basically the first part of the interview or of this article, it's asking about he said that Endwalker is basically a closing chapter for this first big arc of story.
Correct.
For 14.
Yeah.
But it's basically he's basically saying, but don't worry, it's like the game has been doing so good that the CEO is willing to put more time into a game so they just gotta
give like Naoki Yoshida whatever he wants. At this point, do you wanna go to Mars? Of course. Do you wanna hit on Square Enix? Sure.
We had said it before that the feat of bringing 14 back to life was so unforeseen.
Yeah.
And so unexpected that he just gained full trust from the company. It's just, you cannot say anything to a guy who, saved from the brink of extinction,
your biggest
franchise.
Yeah.
At the time, the disaster of 14 was, a lot of people were saying that it was going to be like franchise ending. That was the death of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And Yoshi-P came and basically rescued the whole franchise in one game. In one fell swoop.
Yeah. And like this kind of interview just evidence how good of a project manager he is. Like at one point he was saying like, oh yeah, I just came in with like timetables, project goals, everything ready before we started working in the revamp of 14.
He has also said that for his revamp, he basically micromanaged the shit out of that project.
Yeah, correct.
And
correct.
then he has stepped back a little from that, like super,
of course,
detailed style of management, which makes sense.
Yeah,
but
he has a strong foundation of the game. Like that's what he did. He rebuilt the foundation of the damn game. So
he rebuilt the whole game.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah,
but no, he definitely has an knack for managing big projects successfully.
Yeah.
The other thing that this interview like touches into is, which I thought was really interesting, is how do they manage to keep it fresh for the developing team?
Yeah.
Because by now, 14 has a very kind of set in stone pace of
pace of content, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so they release expansion every 2 years, more or less.
Yep,
that's the idea. And they release like 4 or 5 big patches that bring like big chunks of story to the game.
Correct.
Right, and the things and the content. They have 4 or 5. So it's a very steady pace of release of content.
Yeah.
And basically we're asking, okay, how did you keep that pace from boring your team?
Yeah.
Because everything is also plan ahead. It's not like they're not improvising the story patch from patch.
No, of course not.
No one is. These things are planned with years ahead.
Yeah, correct.
And he basically said that to keep that fatigue at bay, they basically encourage people, like their team, to basically work to a point where like something around 60 or 70% of the content that must be delivered is like polished to get out.
Yeah.
And that then they leave like a space like of 30% of like that content space.
Yes.
Like focus or like time efforts where they can basically just be creative.
Yeah. And bring new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically there is a way of doing things and they expect something on 70% to be just work as it is. Just do the 70% of stuff how we know it works.
Yeah.
And you have like a 30%
of changing things, bringing something new. Yeah, that's something.
It's a very interesting approach, and it explains a lot of how 14 works. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Because as we have mentioned before, 14 is a very stable game.
Yes.
Like there are no these big strings of features happening right and left. Unlike Warcraft, for example, unlike World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft does these big strings of features and powers and just
swing the big baton around as a magic expansion does. So there you go.
As a magic expansion, it just tries more risky things.
Yeah.
With the safety that they know that they're basically gonna delete them 2 years after. No one cares really. But this like management approach, it definitely explains why 14 feels more stable. Like things are more permanent. And
this article claims that it's more beloved than World of Warcraft. Yeah.
It has. The community for sure has a better reputation than the Warcraft community.
Yes.
Like it is believed that the Final Fantasy community is more receiving and more welcoming to new players. It's less toxic.
Yeah.
Which it's, I mean, my experience is true, but I have never really interacted with the community.
Yeah.
The Warcraft community is a cesspool of toxicity for sure. It is like if you step out of like our amazing guild,
Yeah.
like just
We are in
floats.
such a safe space, by the way.
It can get so toxic, and the forums in like the Warcraft forums are just piles of toxicity.
Fair enough.
just people complaining. But I also believe that the Warcraft thing is a loud minority kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it is just amplified. Like also a content creation side is sadly bigger for World of Warcraft.
Yes.
And that's something that I have heard some 14 creators not complain, but like point
Mention?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely a content creation scene for 14, at
It's
least in the
way
West, it's way smaller.
Yeah.
The definitely Warcraft content creation scene is just huge, and that amplifies any kind of complaint.
Of course.
So yeah, it's more beloved. Yeah, maybe, probably. Sure. I don't know.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the mark of him. Like he's been super stable in terms of development, resources, and managing in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but that comment out like how he encourages his team to have like this 70-30 split into 70% do what it works, 30% let's get crazy.
Yeah.
It really explains how the game feels. Like
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
It is surprising. It's just amazing how you can correlate that for how the game.
Yeah, you feel it.
plays
You
on
feel. I think the sensation that it gives you at the long run is like when you open 14, you know what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it's not surprising in points, like especially the story, the gameplay, like, and you see how gameplay changes when you move from expansion to expansion, but it's not like super radical. It's like, oh no, now I play something different. Or like I need this piece of power. It's just like, oh yeah, they added this stuff.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah,
cool.
the change is definitely more gradual
Yeah.
than what we have experienced in WoW.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, definitely, it's more like a berserk beast kind of raging.
Yeah.
In that content, that power creep acts all over the place.
Just go crazy. Just go from 0 to 100. Like, all right, an expansion, a lot of power.
Just
Next
swing
expansion,
that.
no power.
Just swing that corruption, bring the covenant, just go crazy. 12-14 is more like
it's more like, the story, and then you go do more stuff with your class, and then you do a little bit more stuff with your class, and then you're cool. Then I have this extra stuff.
It is. It's But it does.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I one thing interesting about this is like by this philosophy that he approached the project, it kept the soul of what a Final Fantasy game is, even inside the online experience that he is doing. Like the soul of a Final Fantasy game is always being like they're telling you a great story on top of RPG systems, right? That is the core of a Final Fantasy.
It definitely
game.
is,
right?
And 14 succeeds at being a story first kind of game.
Yes.
And like to be fair, that also kind of explains the difference of the approach that both communities take to a game.
Yeah.
Since for example, when compared to WoW, like since 14 is heavily not biased, but like it leans heavily into the storytelling aspects.
Yeah, correct.
People are in that mentality of slow down, enjoy the story.
Yeah.
Play to a dungeon, like this is slow down mentality of.
Yeah, you're playing a big RPG full of lore, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, Warcraft from the beginning, at least World of Warcraft from the beginning, it was definitely a more gameplay first game.
Yep. Which is the Blizzard philosophy. Like it is 100% the Blizzard philosophy. Yeah. It's like
it is 100% the Blizzard philosophy, but it definitely it is like World of Warcraft is definitely like the pinnacle expression of that, where the game shines the brightest
on the gameplay. Yeah.
On the gameplay,
correct.
And on the hard content.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Are the stories interesting? Yeah, some of them are very good, but it's definitely not the focus of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the way that players approach the game is with this haste, and it's not unwarranted. It's just this haste to get to the end game, to get to the hard stuff, because that's where the game becomes good.
Yes.
Like it is what we have mentioned before. World of Warcraft, when you're playing it like for the world content or casually, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you don't need to use all the tools that the game offers to you.
Yeah.
And the only place where you get to use that is when you're pushing the hardest content as hard as you can.
Correct.
And that's so the whole approach that the community takes is we have to rush and reach that point where things are difficult and punishing, and that competitiveness breeds a lot of toxicity.
Yep. nothing to do. Yep. Like and it's funny because I approach 14 like that, like, oh, this is just another World of Warcraft, let's go. In 14 it was just like, no, stop. No. We're gonna give you gear that you're gonna use from here to like the almost last expansion. And you just gotta see the story. And you're like, but dungeons, no.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. You will do dungeons and do the raids, but they're gonna part of the story. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy the story. That's the philosophy that 14 approaches you. And it's jarring. It's jarring coming from World of Warcraft. It's super jarring coming from World of Warcraft, right? Even Elder Scrolls Online doesn't have that much of a jarring because they do have somewhat a lot of emphasis on gameplay, on action gameplay in the case of Elder Scrolls, so you don't feel that backlash of you pass from one gameplay to a more dynamic gameplay, but still the focus is a little bit more gameplay. Even if the storytelling in Elder Scrolls is very good, you don't feel that backlash because the game is like, you can do all those things in gameplay, and the leveling and the RPG is a interesting part of the game, and the story is interesting too, but it's not the focus. But with 14 it's just like, stop. Stop, enjoy the story. And then I get it, like when I finish the first big story beat, I get it. Like in that point I was like, it was worth it to slow down. And get attached to these characters and that sort of stuff.
And let me clarify something. Like, I said that the WoW players are more competitive. That doesn't mean that there are no competitive players in 14. There definitely are, like, people who do the savage raids, which are, I think, the hardest pieces of content.
Correct.
So there are competitive players, but they're definitely the minority in the game, like on the community. And you can see, like, in the amount of like content creation built, for example, around the hardest pieces of content. Which is it reflects, like, again, the content that is created around each game reflects how the community approach. The content creation around WoW is
all about in-game, all about builds, all about like stats and
stats, how to push that. And the content about in 14 is about how to enjoy the classes,
how to do the jobs that you like more, what jobs do you recommend, how do you pick your class to go to the game. Super chill. Like and like guides of how to play your class are almost evergreen. They just refresh it once a big expansion come in.
So it's for example, the fact that 14 doesn't let you that doesn't have damage meters or things like that. It encourages a different type of gameplay. Definitely. They're just different approaches to the game. Okay, one last thing that this article mentions that it's very, very interesting is how do I put this? It's basically what's his take on like monetization model.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Joshua said that, and I'm reading quotes.
Yeah.
Looking at some recent examples, it does seem like the studios kind of throw on monetization elements and scramble to so when the game is out there. It seems to be quite a challenge for those who come from console games. And this is an answer that basically it's basically the interviewer asking him what was his opinion on Destiny 2.
Yeah.
His answer was actually he refuses to make comments directed at any specific game or studio.
Yeah, because he understands that everything is different. Like every single, as we have said here, that everything is different. Like every case is different. Yeah.
He does understand, but definitely a quote that I just read. It's basically saying, look, if you're gonna throw them on like if you're doing this free-to-play live game experience, you really have to consider the monetization carefully. You cannot just scramble it at the end.
Yeah, do whatever and see what it sticks. Yeah.
You cannot improvise the monetization.
Absolutely.
The monetization.
That has been one of the biggest gripes for us and for Destiny in that point, but also for a bunch of other live service games, which they don't know what to do. They don't know which lines not to cross. Where are the inflection points? How much monetization are the community around that game is willing to support, etc., etc. So. Yep. And it's hard. Like I will say that it's hard. It's hard to get that feel because all the games are different. All the communities need different types of approach to their monetization.
Not easy at all.
Yeah. Even with Warframe, like which is our example of successes in terms of monetization. They have a lot of trial and error when they start.
They blunder a lot.
In
the process.
Yeah. Like and they have one of the most famous stories from them, that is when they basically put a slot machine into the game in forms of monetization, and of course they were giving them like millions of money for the slot machine, but they draw the line and say no, this is gonna hurt us at the end. We can do like a lot of money now, but the community won't support that level of monetization, and that's the trick there. Like, what will your community support at the end of the day? And what they feel that is worth it to pay inside the game, and what is not, right? That is the difficult balance that every single live service game has to find, right? What is your community fine with paying? Which the general answer is cosmetic, but how is the biggest question.
Yeah, right? I mean the devil is in the detail.
Correct. How? But there is other forms of monetization, as in Warframe, when they monetize the frame slots. Technically speaking, they monetize the frame slot, but their monetization is such an healthy space that you don't feel that is a hassle or that you need to buy. You need to spend your money on the game to make that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes sense because Warframe is mostly a collecting stuff type of game, and you never heard complaints about the monetization in Warframe. Never. I never find a complaint about the monetization, like generally wide in Warframe. And that's the trick, right? That is the trick. Find exactly what works for your game and your community. And we bring the Destiny example because they kind of aren't sure what they're doing. they had a bunch of problems with the silver store, Like the balance between how much free currency they're giving the players. They have a problem with the expansion and the season scheme. Go ahead, Lucho.
Also because we are experiencing the growing pains of Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting happening.
Yes.
Like we were not there for like for 14 1.0. We were not there for
beginning of Warframe.
Beginning of Warframe, nor for the beginning of WoW. So it is very interesting to see this study case of WoW. In real time.
Yeah. But
that's
now, if you're like in this time, if you're gonna launch a live service or like a continuous updated game and that sort of stuff, you know that has to take a central part in your development. You have to be careful with that kind of monetization. What is fair? Look at the rest of the industry. What is doing well?
It's just something that you cannot improvise. It's
correct. Yeah, I think that's the thing that Yoshi-P is emphasizing, that you cannot just simply improvise, because that makes or break your game basically.
and he actually says that about again, like later on this article, he mentioned something that we have said before, and is that basically it's basically that you should plan ahead. This is something that we again mentioned for Destiny 2.
Yeah.
That you should design how you're gonna update your game.
Correct. Yeah.
And then structure it around it.
Yeah.
And then he says it, like he just straight up says you should structure your system so that it will accommodate the updates, and that you have like a base foundation designed for that plan.
Correct.
And that's something that just Destiny 2 has a struggle, because they changed not only the monetization model, but like the update model. Like they changed everything out of.
So
we
see. That's what we saw. That's what we tell in past episodes that they should have rebooted Destiny and make a new one to accommodate exactly to this. Yep. What they're doing is like they're taking this old engine, which is designed for another type of update, for a yearly type of update, where the game goes about a year being super stable, and with a very small expansion to every 3 months updates and changes to the game, which the core base of Destiny shouldn't support because it's not designed for that. And they are trying to, like, again, changing the engine of a boat while it's going.
It's a huge challenge.
What? Say that
even though it's possible, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah. So they're doing this insane thing of changing the game while it's functioning, while it's going, to approach that point. So that's why we were mad with the vaulting all the old content, because that was the sensation that we were given, like they're gonna adjust the game so it can do what they wanted them to do in the long run. So
no, but what I wanted to highlight with this is that is not us with hindsight 2021 saying all these things. It's like, okay, I'm not a game developer, but he is.
Yeah.
He's a game developer.
Yeah, correct.
It just, we're not crazy.
Yes, we're not crazy. That's the thing. We're not insane people screaming in the internet.
We kind of are, but But I don't know. Like if he says it, like he's a very respected and very successful,
and he has a lot of experience in the industry.
So.
And now he's hitting. Say that again, Lucho.
He must know something.
Yeah, and now he's hitting 16.
Yeah.
He's very excited about it. He's very cool. As the producers, they give him his whole game. He was like, "You want something else, Mr. Yoshi-P?" He's like the pet. He's like the pet from Square Enix CEO. It's so funny. It's like the Square Enix CEO should love this man, maybe marry him.
I mean, they do love him.
Yeah, they do love him. So very interesting interview of Mr. Yoshi-P.
It is all like his interviews are always very interesting.
Yeah, his approach to revamping 14 is just fascinating, man. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm just the example of what every single project manager, game designer, project manager should be. Careful, planning ahead, super good manager. But
okay, but not like it seems that he has kind of a natural talent for managing projects.
Absolutely.
It's something that you can develop, but he seems to be just very, very, very good at it.
He understands his player base. He understands what the player needs. Not everything in 14 is perfect, but
no,
he's very nimble to respond to what the community needs and wants. He respects his time. He has all these good development philosophies on him, right? That's the thing that we've been highlighted here.
Yeah,
that his approach to game development is a very good one. Yeah, there you go. He's a hero, Mr. Yoshi-P. Everybody loves him. It's very funny. Very funny. It's like, oh yeah, our beloved Yoshi-P. All right, that was a very interesting interview and conclusion. Games as a service are hard. Online MMORPGs are hard to maintain. We've seen it struggle. Like, and we played a lot of, like, we played The Division, Elder Scrolls, Final Fantasy 14, Anthem, and yeah, it's difficult to hit it in the head. Right? Every game needs something different.
It does.
Yeah. All right. So next topic. What happens with guns
and melee
in Warframe? There's a balance. I find really interesting the points that this guy made in the Reddit post. It's like, it does make sense. But then I was thinking about, like, so how does Destiny do it? Which will be the closest comparison when all their gameplay is revolved around weapons. But yeah, and I was thinking, I was like, yeah, but Destiny has a lot of the things that he mentions, like baseline area damage or effects of area damage in most of the exotics and that sort of stuff.
Okay, you should explain what you're talking about.
All right.
No one can understand what you're saying.
I know. So what is the problem? The problem that he emphasizes, like, because Warframe, he says, like, Warframe used to be a very cover shooter third-person game when it started, right? So you will take cover.
Yeah.
You run around.
The original game was more tactical.
Correct.
Like action.
Yep, it was a slowdown, and that was the base in which the guns in Warframe were kind of
a lot of the guns were designed with that in.
Correct, but now, because at some point in development, Warframe found out that their movement suit was a very attractive feature of the game. And the power of the frames were a little bit more interesting. They started to do more and more horde modes to scale up their difficulty, because the AI inside Warframe was never good or very smart. So the way that D ends up scaling their difficulty was just populating the game with more and more mobs. So doing more and more horde modes. Would you feel it when you start going like into the highest difficulty? And the game responded by what was the more efficient thing is like giving you more tools to hit a lot of more stuff or enemies in Warframe and AoE. And one of the most efficient things to do is melee the stuff, because melee has wide range and hits a lot of stuff. and your abilities don't wide range, and the majority of your abilities that don't wide range are close encounters and that sort of stuff. So more and more, Warframe went into that direction of horde modes, a lot of enemies, and a lot of big abilities, and leave behind that kind of tactical gameplay.
It definitely did, but not only. I would argue that it didn't came only from the movement, but from the fact that Warframe has always sold the power fantasy
aspect of the game. Yeah.
Fantasy.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like hack and slash horde shooters or horde games make you feel like they sell better the power fantasy team.
Yeah.
More than the tactical shooting, like of taking cover and shooting. That's not. You don't feel powerful doing that. Like you don't feel like a superhero by taking cover and shooting things.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this. Is like the example is like the Division. The Division is not sending you a power fantasy. You're very much human and an agent, and you can take a lot of damage. So you have that kind of tension there. But that's why the Division is selling you. Yes, it's a kind of power fantasy game because of the tech that you have behind you, but that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is more tactical.
Not even a power like if you don't feel like a superhero, it's not power fantasy. Yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the Division 2 is actually selling you that tactical aspect of the game when you have to take cover and that sort of stuff.
It's an action game, but it's a more
tactical endeavor. Yeah. So more and more they went to this power fantasy route, and more it was relevant to hit a lot of enemies at once, do crowd control them, etc., right?
Yeah, the more horde that it became, the more relevant AoE and CC became.
Correct. And you feel it in Warframe. At the end, when you reflect on it, like we don't notice as a bother, because a lot of weapons that they recommend you in your Warframe kind of evolution are like AoE stuff, and then one of two that are single target for like bosses or special missions where you have to hit the one thing when you are progressing through Warframe. But in that regard, the rest of the things that he does, I think they're kind of correct. Like,
okay, do you want to go through those? Because again, people don't know what you're talking about.
All right. So I was explaining. So I was explaining that this is the route that Warframe took, and his argument is that route just left behind weapons and weapons damage, and that now like gunplay is kind of not much relevant in Warframe unless a gun is doing area damage, which is what the game wants because of the evolution of the horde modes, and that's where the difficulty of the game comes from.
It did, but I also believe for a game as old as Warframe is kind of unavoidable that like you cannot foresee where the game is gonna move in the future, and they designed weapons for how the game works now.
So you're saying that the majority of weapons right now have this problem solved, that they do some kind of
problem solved, but like the new weapons that they release, they have not only AoE weapons, but like they ricochet, they have punch through, or they do more stuff. Well, a lot of the earlier weapons are just this is just your basic assault rifle.
Yeah, it's just like a shooter, and that's it.
Or your basic sniper that doesn't do much more. Yeah. So it's just legacy design. Like I know where he's coming from. I also feel that you cannot avoid this unless you want to keep the game playing as like. If you don't want to change how the game plays, then sure.
Yeah.
But Warframe is a game that experiments heavily, and that means that they swing how the game plays a lot.
Yeah.
Which means that this is gonna happen more and more in on direction that we cannot foresee, because we don't know where Warframe is going, and they don't
Nobody
know
knows.
where Warframe is.
I don't think not even the knows.
Yeah, they know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's fine, because Warframe it's just this big collaborative effort, the
Correct.
community, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of impossible to not have this problem.
Yeah. So what he sees as a solution is not put. He says that a solution that the community generally goes to is like you just put mods into the weapons that give you that area of damage. But he says that doesn't fully solve the problem, that he will prefer to have baseline abilities into the guns that kind of does that, like punch through or like explosions of area or something like that, for example. Yeah, that's a
what
baseline.
the new weapons are.
Yeah, that's what the new weapons does. He just wants that to go into revamping the old shooter weapon, so they don't lose value, which is fine, which is fair. It's a fair point. It's like, yeah, of course, yeah.
It's a fair point, but it's something that you have to be careful.
Yeah, you don't wanna break up an old weapon.
Not that you don't want to upset your player.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that I've been playing since beta, and I have my Raton Prime, which is just Prime version of the basic assault rifle thing.
Yeah. And that's
you're
a cool
attached to
weapon.
it.
Yeah.
You want some players and some of the veteran players.
Yeah.
You don't want your old. Maybe they're not as useful.
Yeah.
But it is the thing.
I will argue that there is still a use for single target damage weapons in Warframe for certain activities. So it's not that everything needs to have that component of AoE damage and that sort of stuff. Like there's certain activities that you want a weapon that just does damage to one thing.
There are, but they're definitely not the norm.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But they have their space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what he's suggesting on putting these effects as baseline, it's basically what the new weapons try to do. like the new weapons that they release, they try to have something special about them.
So what are you telling me? What you're telling me is like D knows in what stage their own game is.
I mean, this post came from the last Devstream 152.
Yeah.
And they did acknowledge that there is a huge imbalance between melee and guns in the game.
Yeah. Correct,
and that melee is just overwhelmingly
the best
more
option. Yeah. Yeah, and the other things like you will almost prefer combat because of the hectic nature of Warframe. You almost prefer close encounter combat because of your abilities and AoE damage and that sort of stuff.
Not only that, but it has this auto block property that, in a cone in front of you, you can auto parry or auto block a lot of damage. So.
Which guns don't do in. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think the solution here is? He says that in the dev stream, the D was saying that maybe the solution was up the damage of the guns, of certain guns.
That's something that they have that they mention. That's probably good. The starting point. You still don't wanna. For as much as they experiment, they still don't wanna break the game completely.
Yeah.
By swinging
widely. Yeah.
Widely, because people invest a lot of time and resources into building their weapons for something.
Yeah, because at the end what it was saying is Warframe is at his core a collecting.
It is not only a collecting, but
people don't like when you messed up with their favorite toys, basically.
Yeah, but also but on top of that, people invest a lot of grinding time into building a weapon. You have to put format, you have to upgrade the mods, you have to farm for what's the name?
Endo.
Of the special?
Endo.
And no, for the
Which other cars?
the special mods.
Corrupted modes?
Nah,
What?
the ones that you
Arcanes?
unveiled.
No, Rivens.
mods.
Rivens.
That's the name. Yeah, you have to farm for Rivens, and you invest all this time into building a weapon how you like, and that's if you swing too hard with the weapons or the Warframes for that regard, you risk I know, like not annoying, but like
Alienating?
no, you risk upsetting
Yeah.
the players because you don't want to waste their time, basically.
Correct. Yeah, you want to
So
respect the time.
so the stat increase for some of the weapons is I think it's a good starting point.
I was thinking about this, like in the context of Destiny. It's like you never.
Because Destiny is not a horror game.
Well,
It is not.
it does have a lot of horde mobs.
It does.
And people love horde modes in Destiny.
It
But at the
doesn't
level of
have-
Warframe, it's not at the level of Warframe. I think that's what you mean. Like it does have horde modes, but not at the level of
It
Warframe.
doesn't. Like having a lot of enemies in Destiny is not close to a horde.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You're,
saying.
you're not hacking and slashing things.
You could. You
There-
can
there are
hack
no
slash
mod-
things on
There are no game modes that give you that amount of overwhelm enemy.
Yes, that is true. That is
So it's by no chance a horror game.
yeah,
You
not
still have
at the
time-
level of Warframe. Yeah,
And at no level, like you still have time to aim and headshot everything.
fair enough.
If you can do that, it's not a horde.
Yeah, fair enough.
It is a natural occurrence in Warframe that you don't have time to aim at weak at all.
Correct. Yeah.
You're a lot of times
If you're shooting, you're shooting like at the
in the general direction.
yeah. You shoot at the general
So
direction.
Destiny doesn't have any real horror mode.
Yeah. Man, pretty unique problem, huh?
And that's why Destiny doesn't have this problem.
Yeah.
It's not because the guns are better. It's because they just play different. They're just different games.
Even though Destiny has a lot of AoE stuff built in some of the guns, like with explosions and that sort of stuff. In their perks, to be exact, and some exotics too.
Yeah, but even for those, it's not like, okay, you're gonna take 10 enemies with one explosion.
No.
You're gonna take one out and maybe damage a little bit the ones around.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, you're right.
Because again, there's really no activity in Destiny where you're actually fighting a horde of enemies.
Yeah, we're not. What is the name of this game? Warframe is closer to Dynasty games, the one that is just like a horde mode.
Yep.
And Warframe is closer to that Destiny
Definitely
is.
closer.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. by miles.
Yeah.
No comparison.
Yeah. So it's
It's
a
completely insane.
It's a very unique problem to have.
Yeah, and it is, and it is a okay, but there's also another difference in how Warframe and Destiny work. Destiny still tries to be a first-person shooter,
Yes.
which means that shooting is definitely more important.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Destiny, Warframe is by no means a shooter first.
Yeah, that is true. It's
It's
more
at
of
its
abilities
core.
first. Yeah.
At its core, is more like it may have started as a third-person shooter.
Apparently, yeah.
No, it did. Like if you see the
old footage?
all gameplay and
Very good. It was very Division-like.
It was very tactical, like more encouraging of you going stealthy and that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
But the current state of the game, it's definitely not a shooter for it.
Yeah.
Just this weird RPG thing, monster.
Yep.
Abomination.
Yep.
How could you? How else could you fix this problem?
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard because I don't know. Like it's hard because the gameplay Warframe is good. Even
it's
if
very
you're not
good.
using that many weapons, and the weapons that you use are generally significant, or they're built in for. But yeah, it's true that more and more you use less weapons and you use more melee, which is funny because you feel like you don't need a secondary weapon. Like generally you use the way that it feels is like, all right, you have your melee, which is depending on the frame, your go-to weapon, and then you have a secondary weapon which does some kind of AoE damage, and then you have a primary weapon which is a purely single target thing. Oh, that was the philosophy which I went and did and do build-ups in Warframe.
Okay, that's how you do it. That's
Yeah.
how people play the game.
Yes. That's how I think about it. But more and more is more efficient to just have a bunch of AoE stuff in the general context of the game, right?
I mean, for the really most efficient way is that you spread damage types across your weapons.
Yeah.
And so basically, if you basically want one slot to deal with heavy armor enemies. You want one slot to deal with shielded enemies.
Yeah.
And probably if you have enough ailments applying, like a status heavy melee weapon, after you apply the status that you can with all your weapons,
yeah,
you just hack through with your melee.
Yeah, but there is a lot of frames that can deal with armor weapons without you needing an action gun with their abilities.
There are not that many.
Well, now with the helmet system, we have a lot more flexibility in that regard.
We do have, but it's still not enough.
All right.
You can.
Yeah.
You cannot put an armor there are not that many frames with armor removing abilities, and usually you cannot take those with the helmet system because they do that. Basically, I mean, they don't allow it because they do acknowledge that armor is one of the main. It's one of the main difficulty curves in the game. So you don't want to give every frame just the ability to delete armor.
Yeah, fair enough.
For free.
I don't know. How do you fix this problem? I think the idea of the guy here is solid, but it's difficult to. You will need a lot of time to go and revisit all weapons and see what you can tweak about it. The easy approach the easy quote unquote approach that D is taking here is the correct one to start with. I agree with you. With that, in that regard, Lucho,
but it's the safest approach to begin with.
Yeah.
It may not be the right answer at the end.
Yeah.
I believe it's a good starting that game.
But I like the idea of to have some baseline potential on some of the old guns to do AoE damage and kind of have that possibility of functionality for what the state of the game is right now. Without removing the core of the weapon, which is just, you know what I mean? Like if you still wanna take a weapon and make it for single target damage because you need it for that purpose, that it will be possible. But give it the opportunity that you can make that is your favorite weapon, which is the point. make more AoE or higher effects, so you can use it in a bigger context in Warframe is valuable.
That's what mods are for.
Yes, but that is the argument of the dude here.
I know that's the argument of the dude, but when you put it in words and you say it out loud,
yeah,
that's what mods are for.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to remove them. Like, he doesn't want that space to be clouded with solving this issue. Because mods are the one that decide in which direction you're taking your tool, right?
Exactly.
Right?
As they should.
So, but there is weapons that you can 100% not do it even with mods.
What do you mean by that?
Like the possibility is there that you can put a mod that says like every time you shoot, do area damage, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But is removing spaces from where you can build better if that was intrinsic into the gun, right? That's his argument, and it makes sense. Like, it makes sense because the spacing in modding inside the Warframe is okay,
but that's
it's a fight of real estate. Like, you have a lot of things that you can put a mod to build.
I know what you mean. Yeah. But that's what makes the mod system interesting.
Yeah, but that's not gonna remove that aspect. Like the fact that you can put this into the base. Like,
if you don't have to make a decision between, let's say, extra crit or not, the gun, the rounds explode.
You will have to do that. You see in the builds in the weapons in Warframe, you have to do that decision all the time, right?
Yeah,
but even you take it a crit, or even you take it a status.
That's my point. That's my point. You have to make that decision right now.
Yeah.
If you put more stuff into your weapons, you remove some of the things that you have to make the decision.
No, you won't, because it is a problem of how much do you put intrinsic into the weapon or not. Like, as every single weapon, you have some weapons that are better to just put crit on it, and some weapons are better to just put status on it. But you cannot do both at 100%.
Yes, but you also have the you are blindfolded into that. You just do crit or you just do status. But you can also put utility into a weapon.
You also can put
explosive thing, utility into a weapon.
Utility, all right, yeah.
That's something that you're not like. You can do that right now. What you're saying is, that utility of exploding or punch through or whatever, you want to put that into a weapon. That is removing one of the decisions that you have to do.
The only thing I would put into the weapon would be a possibility for area damage. Because
then you're gonna make all the weapons area damage. That's boring.
Why? You will get a percentage of possible area damage. And that
again, all the weapons explode. What's the point of all the weapons?
And that's what would you augment. If you want your weapon to do more area damage, then you invest in that through the mod system. And if not,
all the weapons explode. Why is that fun?
It's because that's what is required for a gun to be relevant in the state of the game.
I don't think that's a good approach.
That's the point.
To weapon design, just make everything explode.
Not everything's gonna explode. You will have probably the possibility
that's what you just told me.
It's area damage. That doesn't mean that it's gonna explode. It could take many forms. It could take many forms. It's like you can have a weapon that naturally explodes doing area damage. That what will mean is that the weapon will have.
It doesn't matter. Like, if everything is AOE, still everything is AOE. Well, then AOE is not special at all.
Well, why do you want AOE to be special if it's in everything in Warframe?
It should be.
Why? It is not. It is not right now in the game.
No. Weapons with AOE should be special. Or like each weapon should have something special. If every weapon has AOE, then like you're removing one avenue of making things in.
Yeah, but that's what the game needs. To gunplay to be kind of like relevant into the state of the game.
Relevant but boring. What do you prefer?
Probably relevant, because it won't be boring for people who certain guns are their favorite ones and prefer to use those guns instead of melee all the time.
I disagree with that. Like Warframe benefits way more from diversity than from just having things that explode.
Then we can just leave it as it is, and you just have guns to be like the single target thing, and then melee just gonna be the answer for 90% of what you do in Warframe.
No. Like there's still like you can still fix the problem. It's just that including like having all the weapons do AoE, I don't believe that's the solution.
Then what is the solution for you?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
Like single target weapons should hit harder.
Yeah, single target. I agree. Single target weapons should exist.
They should hit harder.
They should hit harder. Is your point?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe, yeah.
You have to like everything that's AoE is not a good solution. It's just
everything does AoE now. I would say.
That I really don't think that's an interesting solution.
Fair enough.
That's the lazy approach of how do we solve it? Oh, everything explodes.
Everything does AoE in a degree now, right? You can like it is the crit status philosophy of things, basically.
Yeah. It's that's what I believe is not a good solution. Do I know the good solution? No. But I don't believe that just pushing everything towards one end of the scale is the right solution.
So you think that they just need to do a general pause in like all guns and that sort of stuff?
Oh, they definitely need to. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
But just saying make everything go boom is not a good solution.
Nice. I would like to have like AoE on one of my favorite weapons. That would be nice.
You can put AoE in your weapon. That's what the mods are for.
No,
that's the point.
I don't want it because I lose damage.
That's still the point of mod.
I know, but I lose damage if I put AoE in that one.
You have to make a decision.
No, I don't want it. I want everything.
Okay, you're just being annoying. Like you're not contributing to the discussion.
All right. Anyways, yes, it's an interesting proposal to put AoE. It runs the risk that it lost uniqueness in your variety of weapons. But that doesn't mean that it's not a valid suggestion.
It is a valid suggestion.
Yeah.
For sure. I just don't I personally don't believe it's the right solution.
That is the right solution, yeah.
Because that solution for me is just a lazy solution.
Fair enough.
And in my opinion, the lazy approach is never good on the long run.
What if we put AoE in some weapons? But that's what they're doing right now.
Some weapons have AoE.
Yeah, that's what they're doing right now. You're right.
Some weapons have AoE. If you want to put AoE on your non-AoE weapons, you have mods for it.
Yeah, no. I think, yeah, you're probably right. I still feel like there is a place for single target damage guns in this.
There is.
In this game.
I do believe that. It just but you know what is my problem with the putting AoE in everything is?
Yeah.
That is that people just want everything at once.
Of course, people want their cake, eat it, and then have it in the future.
But that removes what makes an RPG interesting, which again for me is making decisions.
Yeah.
That's why not all the Warframes have the same abilities. When you choose a Warframe, you're making a decision.
Yeah.
When you take a gun into fight, you're making a decision.
Correct.
When you mod the gun, you're making a decision.
Yeah.
And that's like all those decisions that you make is what makes the way that you play Warframe special.
Correct.
like if all the weapons have AoE, then your weapon that does AoE that you have put a lot of time into is less special.
That is true.
It just Warframe has I don't want to say one of the selling points, but like one of the strong points of the game is you can play the game however you want.
Correct.
And just everything going boom kind of erodes that idea.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think the main thing about the problem of this is right now using melee weapons in Warframe is very efficient compared for using arms. That's the main problem of this, right? So what DE has to do is kind of bring up guns in that same level of efficiency. How?
Yep.
Difficult to tell.
Oh, could be put such a hard.
Yeah. Could be put in area damage on guns, could be just make the guns do more damage, but then they have to think about like, oh, where are we going on the overall difficulty of the game and that sort of stuff, and the reliability of like. So if your problem is like we need to put more damage, they don't want to power creep even if Warframe has a ginormous power creep thing going on. But yeah. So the answer at the end, as everything in Warframe, because Warframe has so many moving parts, is complex.
I mean, you could also, and this is very hard, but you could also design more single target encounters.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same. More encounters where you need that single target damage.
Which Warframe definitely lacks.
Yeah. How many single target encounters we have? We have bosses.
We have all the bosses. We have all the Eidolons.
The Eidolons, yeah.
We have the two spider fights on Fortuna. And that's pretty much it.
What are the fights in Deimos against bosses?
We don't have bosses like that. There is one bounty style where you fight this mecha, the mecha.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But you're still being hoarded by like infested enemies, so you still have to deal with those.
So maybe.
But the way to take down the mecha the most efficiently is with single target, like because you have to focus the arms, like the weak points in the arms, and then you can deal damage to the thing.
Yeah.
So those for those ones you have to have a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But maybe Warframe would benefit from more single target stuff. Maybe that's the place that raids take in Warframe.
Interesting. Are they gonna go do raids in Warframe again?
Trials is something that has always been, that since they got removed, is something that the community wants, like that big group, like activity. That 8 or 12 player content.
Yeah.
And that they said that they want to revisit at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
The ones that got removed were puzzle heavy.
Yeah.
Maybe the single target heavy weapons need a space in the game, and maybe that space is.
That's what is lacking. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Could be trials.
Yeah. Yeah.
And interesting. And it's a possibility. Like you don't have to make all the game single target tactical again. You as long as you have a game mode that is relevant enough for the overall gameplay that requires those, it has its.
Yeah, it will have his play. Yeah, but because I feel that this complaint comes from that feeling of like 90%, 95% of things that I do in Warframe don't involve single target damage. So why do we have these guns?
It depends on what you do, to be honest. If you're only running like the usual missions, for sure. But I don't know. Like if you run a lot of Eidolon fights, for example,
Yeah, but I heard that right now Eidolon finds are no longer that relevant because you can get arcanes from the other sources way easier.
Sadly, which is something that I disagree with.
Yeah.
It's something that they cave into people saying we want arcanes, and I thought Eidolons were perfectly fine because you could only obtain the harder ones by defeating the hardest Eidolon.
Yeah, correct.
And they're always in progression.
Yeah.
So just something that they cave in that I disagree with. But what can I say?
There you go. So yeah, complex solution. There is a lot of way that they can approach this. So yeah, my conclusion is it's hard. Probably they will take it slow because it's a difficult thing to approach, and there's other components that affect this problem, basically, right?
Yeah, they won't rush into solving this for sure.
All right, for final topic, and one that we didn't cover last episode. How to tank or learn to tank.
Yeah.
How you do that? You just put a shield and go about your day. You use 2 shields. If you use 2 shields, you're more of an efficient tank.
You are.
You are? Can you use 2 shields? What will happen if you can use 2 shields in World of Warcraft?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. So, how to tank, my friend? You are the resident expert tanking in this.
By doing it. Sadly enough, the answer is do it. And that answer is sad because if you don't have an understanding group of players that can, even if not guide you, like understand that you're learning the role, it's gonna be pain. Painful. Very painful. Yeah. Because if you're trying to learn pogging, okay, first of all, you cannot learn how to tank on the queue, like on normal or heroic.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk how to tank pointly in World of Warcraft.
Yes.
There are similarities with how to tank in other games, but World of Warcraft has this particular thing. Very, very particular thing.
For sure.
Continue.
So the problem with normal and heroic difficulty is that you can brute force everything.
Yeah.
No, because if you can grind like you can grind like world content item level items.
Yeah.
They'll leave you just right below 200.
Yeah.
And you can, like at that item level, you can just push through the mechanics of the dungeon.
In normal and heroic.
In normal and heroic, you can just push through. You can ignore and survive.
Fair.
If you know what you're, not even if you know what you're doing, you can just
play
face roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not gonna help. That's the match make difficult.
Yeah.
Then we move into
Mythic Zero.
Into Mythic, and I'm including Mythic Zero.
All right.
Because for Mythic Zero you cannot match. All Mythic is just pre-made group.
Yeah.
So here we run into the 2 ways of running content: pogging, or do it with
with friends and pre-made people.
With people that you know.
Yeah.
Pogging is, sadly enough, is a cesspool of toxicity. And as the tank, people expect you to be the leader of the run.
Yeah, we were discussing this off recording of podcast, and it was like you have so many. It's ridiculous to a point. Like you have so much responsibility as a tank. Like you have to indicate where you're going. You have to pull properly. You have to know the routes. You have to know how much percentage you need.
Yeah.
You have to indicate which mob. This is in pogging, right? You have to indicate which mob to interrupt, which mob is priority. It's just crazy, man. It's like
it is crazy.
It's insanity.
Especially at the lower level of keys.
Yeah.
Where you find more of the inexperienced or the people that are just learning.
Yeah, correct.
So everyone defects by default to the tank to lead the run, and it makes sense because the tank is the one that it's pulling stuff.
Yeah, and he's the one who goes first, and that sort of stuff.
Basically, you go where the tank goes because you cannot go without a tank.
Yeah, if you get aggro without a tank, you die. Basically,
you basically die, unless you're super over gear for the content. But I'm assuming that people are not, that you're not. So
yeah.
So then you're pugging your by default leader, which means that people expect you, and they do expect you, which is kind of insane. That you should know how to skip, what is to skip, what to pull, the routes. You should know the bosses. You should keep all the interrupt up. You should know the target priority.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So if you're gonna learn in pugging, it's a daunting experience. It's definitely not like I wouldn't recommend
anybody. You have to study so much.
No.
Yeah.
and no matter how much studying you do, it's still not gonna be enough. You're not gonna learn until you run it a couple of times and you figure things out for how you like ranking.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of guides like written on websites and videos of
and add-ons and that's the stuff that help you plan your route.
Like all those things can help, but none of those things are useful until you don't have a good feeling for the dungeon.
Yeah.
Or those things mean nothing. Like you can see all the videos that you want, and you can say, oh yeah, that makes sense. But that won't really sink in until you have run the dungeon a couple of times, and you say, that's why.
Yeah, that's mod. That's why I die here. Oh, that's what is killing me. Yeah.
So sadly, it's something that you will only really learn by doing. Yeah. And I wouldn't tell anyone to do it during pub.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be so toxic. Like
people will lose their patience.
You will have bikes in tanks, like the shitty DPS telling you what you should be pulling or not.
Yeah.
So, sad enough, that's just not gonna work. I mean, you can learn, but it's gonna be so exhausting to deal with bugs in that way. So, as the other route is, you find a group of people that you can run with that are kind of a safe space, or you can say, okay, I'm learning how to tank.
Yeah.
And even if they cannot guide you, like just teach you, which will be the ideal place. You come across with a group, you already have experienced tank player.
Yeah.
He can just guide you, tell you, okay, this mob is hard because of this, you should interrupt this. And even that type of group, then you can defer the leading role to someone else.
Correct.
Who can basically tell you what to do.
Yeah.
While you're learning the role.
Yeah.
That's the ideal scenario. You have experience tanking the group, that he's teaching you how to tank.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, if you have an understanding group, you can all learn together and improve together.
Yeah.
And I mean, sadly, that's one of those social components of WoW. Like, it's just you cannot get rid of that. and especially because dungeons are, and as we have mentioned before, especially this expansion, they're definitely tuned and designed for coordinated play.
Yeah.
So
it's just hard. It's just tank life. It's our life. It's our life.
If you do have like an understanding group, all you can do at that point is just do your homework.
Yeah.
Which again, the homework, and we're talking about this, like what's the homework of the team?
Yeah.
It's basically studying which trash are you gonna pull, in which order are you gonna pull, how are you gonna deal, like especially like when talking about mythic class, how are you gonna deal with the affix?
Yeah.
And you should be aware of the affixes. So, do we have quaking this week? Okay, so we cannot pull everything into this little corner because we're gonna quake ourselves to that.
Yeah, correct.
Do we have raging? Okay, you need a space to kite, and do you have like also in the tank, like it ends up falling into like this responsibility that people sometimes forget the affixes. Like no, like for example, raging. Like all the mobs in rage under 30% health.
Yeah.
Like most tanks cannot do anything at all.
Correct.
So you have to, like you're relying on on that you have classes with you that can suit the rage or that can CC properly.
Correct. Which is not always the case. Yeah.
Which is not always the case. But if it is the case, then people expect you to know. Okay, druids can suit. Rogues can use something on their weapons. Hunters can frank shot. And then you are kind of expect to know those.
Oh my god. All right. What is the good thing about tank? I'm gonna just ask you. You have to do all this heavy lifting, all this work, all this knowledge. You have to study. You have to be the best that ever was. What is the reward?
It's like there is no reward more than just finding the key.
It's the reward.
That's what tanking is not for everyone.
Oh my god! All right. Yeah.
Like tanks and healers are there are no rewarding like roles to play.
Yeah.
And you don't get to boast in the DPS meters, for example. like you get nothing out of it. Like all you get is the fact that not many people play tanks or healers, so people need you to run. That's the reward. But there is no real reward. Like you'll never be at the top of the DPS table. You'll never be on the healing top table, and your role is like there is nothing that you can show up. Your role,
you're not the hero.
What is to show up? I didn't die because I know how to use my defense.
You're not the hero they deserve, but the one they need.
You're definitely not. It is hard job that goes unrewarded.
Yeah.
And like it is as cliche as it sounds, it is one of those roles that you're doing it right if no one notices it. Really, like
should Blizzard reward more tanks and healers? I don't know, give them like an extra chance to get loot or an extra chance to get currency.
For example, they do it in LFR, like on the matchmaking.
Yeah, they do it in LFR. They absolutely do it.
Because you get extra gold, extra experience, and a chance of extra thing that can give you, for example, augment runes.
Yeah, correct.
So they do it, but definitely for like again, it's just that the design philosophy for Mythic class seems to be this is just coordinated content.
Yeah,
it's that it's just. I see, I don't know if you have seen on YouTube, all this series of people like climbing their way through the POG system to a plus 15 POG.
Jesus Christ.
Like that.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch those, but it's definitely like and it's just like this content creator saying, oh, look, it's possible. And it's like, yeah, it is possible.
Everything is possible.
But no one is enjoying that experience.
Yeah.
And you say, like, when they do it, it's not like, oh, I'm having a lot of fun. It's not like, I'm pushing through the POG world.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm enjoying my stroll through POG. No, it's just like you're pushing through the shit show that POG is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It really is just reading stuff is gonna get you so far.
Yeah.
And it's not enough.
Oh my god. Enough. Well, the hard side is like you're gonna be beloved and needed in your community.
You're gonna get appreciated because not a lot of people You even said this to me that you geared your tank, but you still don't want to play it.
Yes.
Which it's true for a lot of people. Like again, tanking is not for everyone.
Yeah. It's
not.
Yeah, I did.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
That's interesting. Yeah. I said that, like, I geared my tank and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, oh my god, so much study to respond. I don't want it.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, at some point, I believe that everyone should try to tank or heal.
Yeah.
Even if you're not like it and you're not gonna do it ever again.
Yeah.
But just so that you can appreciate.
Absolutely.
The work that a decent tank does.
Absolutely. And I was telling you that yesterday. Like I tank a little bit. I tank a little bit on BFA, but it was like super easy because you were over geared for what you were trying to do. Most
at the end of the
time
we were too power.
Yeah. But here I tried to bug a couple of times and tank some dungeons with guildies, and I was like, the amount of work I need to do this fucking thing properly is crazy. I do love Lucho doing it now.
I find it, again, I said it before, I find it very rewarding because it appeals to my sense of of just getting good at something that it's intricate and technical.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I don't think it's for me. Maybe I will do
fine.
it. Yeah.
It's fine. Like now you know that you don't like tanking in WoW.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's a fair answer.
Yeah. Now that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing.
But at least you appreciate better
absolutely
the tanks that you have in your life.
Now I know what is Now I do know how hard it is. To try to tank. I did enjoy tanking in the raid, which is totally different thing. Yeah, it's absolutely different thing. I did enjoy tanking in the raid.
Raid tanking is more like basically a way that they design raid encounters is more segmented.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, we have mechanics for the raid, share this. We have mechanics for DPS, mechanics for healers, and mechanics for tank.
Yeah.
And usually, even though they can be deadly across if they get failed, they don't interact with each other that much.
Yeah, so it's more of a you and the knowledge of your class with doing the mechanic compared to you and the knowledge of the dungeon and everything that has to into the dungeon.
And to be fair, it's just like every raid encounter you're dealing with one boss.
Yes.
So you don't have to think ahead that much. It's just, okay, I know this fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I know what to do for this fight. I have to move here, I have to deal with this mechanic, I have to kite there, here, pick these ads.
Yeah.
But it's only this fight. It's just knowledge for the next 5 minutes.
Correct.
While the dungeon tanking requires you
knowledge for half an hour.
You basically know what needs to be done for the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, Jesus.
At all times, because also when you're trying to time it, there is no stopping and thinking.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
There is like you're on a timer, you're on a mission.
Yeah.
You have to go from pool to pool efficiently.
And that's on top of knowing how your tank works, right?
That's I'm not even talking about the ways.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I raid tanking much easier, much enjoyable because the question that raid tanking puts you in front is like, do you know how your class can tank properly?
Yeah.
And around that, you need to do mechanics, and that's it.
Yeah, but it's also like, okay, in between wipes, you have a couple of minutes
to think. All right, I didn't do
what was I doing wrong? Where can I improve?
Yeah, correct.
Well, you can do that in between dungeons. You cannot do that in between pools in a mythic class. You just don't have if you're aiming to time it, you cannot do it.
So I don't know. Maybe my recommendation is that, like, start by tanking in raids so you can understand your tanking capabilities as the class, as the spec properly.
That's actually a very good point.
Yeah.
You'll probably learn better your kit.
Yes.
Like your base kit tanking raids, because raids are very challenging if you don't know how to properly, or like the effects of all your kit.
Yeah, how to take damage, when to use your big cooldowns, when to use your small cooldowns.
You have, yeah.
And every single spec has a different way in the way that they mitigate damage. So, for example, Prot Warriors, which is what I use, they have a constant mitigation with shield block, ignore pain, and that sort of stuff. And then they have big cooldowns that they can use in case of emergency, but they don't have auto heal, for example. Protection paladins have a lot of auto heal and big cooldowns.
It has a lot of healing and a lot of big involves. Like it has a lot of, you don't take damage for the next 6 seconds.
DHs, Dark Knights has
decays are basically
room power base, right? It's a resource that you have to manage.
Yeah, but it's basically your health is another resource. Yeah, that's what they do.
Correct. And DHs has,
they just have mobility.
Yeah. Just like big mobility and big like armor cooldowns and mitigation cooldowns. It's
just mobility. They don't have, like, their defensives are not that powerful.
Fair enough.
They're definitely among the worst defensives in the tanking.
Yeah.
But they're very good because they put out a lot of DPS and they're very mobile.
Yeah, correct. So and then you have monks, which has the stagger mechanic, which is something.
It has a weird stagger mechanic. Yeah.
We're not trying to say don't tank here or don't heal. We just trying to say, like, tanking in Mythic Plus particular is very hard. If you want to do it, what I will recommend is go first and try to tank in raids. Once you have your kit down and know exactly how to move your kit and are proficient enough to your kit, then move to everything else that has to do with Mythic Plus. That's what I would recommend.
Just because people expect you to know what's happening.
Yeah. So I will say that probably Mythic Plus is like the pinnacle of tanking.
It just requires different things.
Yeah.
And it may feel like that just because, again, when you're raiding, there is more shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Like mistakes can get diluted better because you have 20 people in the raid team.
Yeah.
So you can make one mistake and it's less punished.
Yeah, correct.
Mythic Plus is just, if you make a mistake, it's a huge, like, if a DPS miss an interrupt, it can be a wipe. So mistakes are more punishing.
Yeah.
And like it or not, DPS, tanks or healers are the most important role. So a tank mistake or a healer mistake, it's usually way more punishing.
Yeah. So I will probably keep my tanking gear for when you need enough tank in the raids, which is what I've done mostly in this in this expansion. Workers like, we need a tank for the raid. All right, because I know my kit deep enough that I can confidently do that. And learning the mechanics of a tank fight is not that challenging. But Mythic Plus is an entirely different horse.
It is, and people put the responsibility in the tank.
Yeah.
It's just how it fares. I like it a lot.
Yeah. In conclusion, don't be afraid. If you want to learn how to tank in dungeons pointedly, we recommend first doing it in a raid environment and then start to learn into the dungeons.
My recommendation is just get a group of friends that can do it with you.
And it will help.
That would be nice and understanding that you're learning. That's definitely my recommendation. It is just an effect of WoW not shying away from its social component.
Yeah, which is fine. It's in the game. All right. That's the end of a deep dive. We now move to our audience questions and feedback. Remember that if you want to send us some questions or anything like that, you can contact us in any of our social media accounts, Twitter or Gmail. All the information below. We always repeat it at the end of the show and everything else. Or if you are watching us on YouTube, you can leave your comments and your questions in the comments down below. We will asking them here on the show. All right, the first question of this week is: does World of Warcraft encourage overgearing to clear content? Man, that's a big question. I will say yes. But
you will say yes.
But it's a natural progression. Like if you have more gear, better gear, it's easy for you to do content. That's the normal game progression. That is it encouraged? I don't think so. You can do a lot of the game's content, normal content, without that much gear.
That's true. I'll say that the matchmaking system and the plugin system do encourage overgearing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's. I mean, maybe not the game by design, but the tools around the game to mitigate the social dependency of the content does encourage. So if you're someone who is plugging a lot of stuff, you will encounter that basically the social regulation of the system encourages you to overgear.
Yeah, it's between gear level and mythic IO rating when you're trying to poke stuff in general.
So the whole rating system, the whole iOS system, all those things do encourage overgearing.
So the answer is World of Warcraft as the game does not, but the community and the tools around it does, right?
Yeah, like the steps that WoW took to mitigate a little bit of the social dependency, which are again are an LFG and plugin.
Yeah.
They do encourage overgearing.
Fair enough.
You don't need it if you're in a well-coordinated group. You can do the content at the correct item level, and that's one of the things why people feel like the gearing up was slow.
Yeah.
Is because if you are plugging a lot of stuff, and a lot of people do.
Yeah.
If you're gaining gear at a low pace, it means that you're doing content at the limit of the gear that you're doing.
Yeah, correct.
So and the only way to clear that content is with coordination.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is what it is designed for.
Correct.
But once you step into the plugin world, you don't have the coordination. So
you're 100% dependent on...
You feel like you need more gear, more power in the gear to compensate for the lack of coordination. Yeah. And that's why a lot of people felt like the gearing speed was too slow for PvE, in my opinion.
Yeah. There you go. That's the answer. Yes and no.
Like, no, but it's not the design of the game.
Yeah.
It's just what happens when you try to compensate the lack of coordination.
Correct. All right. And the second question is if you can have anything in this past BlizzCon, what do you wish for?
What?
Yes.
Anything.
A
release date for Diablo 4.
An early release date for Diablo 4?
Not early. Just give me a release date.
Ooh.
Just tell me when.
Just tell me when. Even if it's in 5 years, but tell me when.
just tell me when and I will wait. But just tell me.
All right. I wish for for Overwatch 2 release date. Just one release date here. I just want that Overwatch 2 juice. I really love that franchise, and it was the only thing that I wish for. Like Diablo 4, I don't want it that fast. The game looks in good condition and it's going in a good path, but Overwatch feels sad and abandoned right now.
Oh, I don't care whatsoever with Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like if they told you we just gave up on Overwatch 2, I'll be fine. Makes sense.
So that's what I wish for, like a release date of Overwatch 2.
Just throw it into a bin.
Yeah, just tell me.
It's trash anyway.
Yeah, come on. All right. And that's it for this episode, my friend.
That's all for this week's episode. Once again, thanks for tuning in into The Sweaty, The Farmer, and The Game Design. My name is Lucho, and you can find me on Twitter at LuisJPalang.
And I am The Long Name Gamer, and you can find me on Twitter at The Long Name Gamer. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, leave us a message on our social stuff, post this episode everywhere, recommend it to your friends, recommend it to your family, recommend it to your pets, and everybody. Thanks so much for all the support that you give us on comments, on prices and everything, and on only just watching this content. We love you so much. Thanks for coming to The Sweaty, The Farmer, and The Game Design. See you next time. Bye. And did you know Munster cheese originated in the 7th century in a monastery in the Alsace region of France? Oh, French. And was first produced by Benedict monks. The word Munster comes from the French word for monastery. Interesting. It is described as a semi-soft cheese made from cow's milk and can have a flavor that ranges from mild to strong depending on the time allowed to age. So monastery monks. So why were monks that bored? They were like, just like let's try to do cheese, bro.
I mean, monks are known to be
or people.
The caretakers of like historically they've been the ones that produce wine and cheese.
Yeah,
so.
Because they were very bored.
No, because they were the only people that could afford to do it. Like if you were a peasant, you don't care about curating cheese. You had to work and you just eat bread and whatever you could get.
Yeah, fair enough. You have
monks like again. It's the first and second step were just not bored, but like they have time on their hands.
There you go.
And the cheese crust must be washed regularly. It is matured in damp cellars for 5 weeks for the smaller formats, and up to 2-3 months for the larger one. During this period, the rind is periodically washed with brine. Then added moisture. The added moisture helps the organ of bacteria that gives this cheese its particular taste and color.
Interesting.